everyone, thank you for tuning in. I'm your instructor Joy. Let me first play a tune for you. This was a piece from Sevcik Technique Book for Beginners, op.6, number 56. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for your continued support here, also on my Patreon page, sending me kind questions, comments here, also on by email. I really appreciate. So with this simple, short, beautiful tune of Sevcik Technique Book, I thought it would be a great way to know how one could find a correct placement for a third finger and fourth finger. Those are the ones that I see a lot in my teaching studio. A lot of violinists have struggling finding fourth finger, know where to place it. It particularly hard when you're changing the strings or when you're descending, such as it's going up, for example, from A. When you're coming when you're going up, placing finger one by one, it's easy. However, when you're coming down here, then you have to place fourth finger all of a sudden. It's a little hard to know. It's hard to know where it is, even though approximately what we're trying to do. And this is where we're a little uneasy what to do. Or sometimes knowing where to place 3 and 4, let's say, and here, and so on like that. So I'm going to give you 3 tips that you can try right away, and hopefully it will work with you. So it works beautifully well with my students in my teaching studio. Tips 1. Use your fingers as a measuring tool. Let's say, in this case, with Sevcik book, Sevcik Technical Book for Beginners, op.6, number 56. It's one of the last exercises. So you start with the first position. From first finger, you have to find it fourth finger right away. Of course, ideally we want to be able to find it right away, but before we get there, we have to have a structured practicing. Namely, give yourself time and then use your fingers as a measuring tool. What do I mean that? So from B, C, D, 4, and then E. So by placing one finger one after the other, it's a little easier to know where to place it. Here, stop, 2, 3, 4. Then now third finger, instead of putting third finger right away alone, give yourself time and play second finger first, then 3. And so on like this. So here, let's say, if you have, now we have to place from second to the fourth finger, same idea. Now, instead of placing fourth finger right away, place 3 first and then 4. That way, we have a little higher chance to know where exactly place the fourth finger. You can do the same thing when you're doing descending scale. So let's say if you're coming from G, F sharp, instead of placing 4 right away, give yourself time and place from 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah? Use your fingers as a measuring tool, because your left hand already kind of collected muscle memory, so it has a higher chance to know where precisely have to be placed, whether it's fourth finger or third finger. Tip number 2. Understand where half steps and whole steps are, because again, in order to use our fingers as a measuring tool, we have to know when to put fingers together or when to take apart, because we know when we have half step, such as note B and C, we can place fingers together. When we have a whole step, we place fingers a little apart. So if you know where the half step and whole steps are, you raise chance of making it in tune even higher. So let's say I want to find it F sharp to B right away. Now I know F sharp and G is half step, so I play second finger, G and A whole step, and then A to B whole step again. That way I can find it. Tip number 3. this is when you have to use the same fingerings and changing from one string to the next. Theoretically speaking, when we change, let's say, third finger on the E string to third finger on the A string, it should work when we just move fingers over. This is only when we consider the violin is absolutely straight line. But we know we're not holding violin straight forward, but we're holding violin a little diagonally. The violin is a little sideways, which means we think we place the third finger right next to it. Sorry. But when you do that, it gets a little flat. So which means we have to consider that one, the violin is not straight line, nor our arm is right under, right? Our arm is coming from the side and the violin is sitting not straight forward but a little diagonally. So keep that all in mind. That changes a lot of facts in physics. So which means when we're changing from one string to the next, we have to keep that in mind, that it's not just pushing it, but we have to readjust a bit, and it helps especially when you bring your left elbow to your right a bit. Just like right elbow, we have to adjust it depending what string you're playing, E string, A string, D string, and G string. Same thing happens with the left elbow, smaller degree, but still does. E string, let's say here, and then in order to play A string, I need to bring my left elbow to my right a little. And on and on. And we can also tilt the violin, but that comes later. So here, there's one spot. When you do that, stop it and bring your left elbow to your right and then move it over, and you have higher chance to be in tune. Yeah? One last tip before I wrap it up. Now, we talked about using your fingers as a measuring tool. We also talked about knowing where the half steps are. But let's say I played it fourth finger on the E string, let's say here. Now I use my finger as a measuring tool. I play fourth finger. Now I need to find the third finger on the A string, which is D sharp. Even though note B and D sharp are far apart, but actually they're sitting close by, just different string, close by, just like half step notes. Therefore, I can use my fourth finger, previous finger, as a measuring tool again. D sharp here. And then I can rely on that one and make the next half step note, which is right next to it. And so on like that. Yeah. This book, Suzuki book, a technique book, is one of those. It's great for very beginners, but also advanced player, because it just gives us a chance to review a lot of basic yet important techniques. I hope this video was helpful. I wish you all happy practicing. Thank you for watching and see you again. Bye bye.